Welcome to Wrestler Revisited, a show where we tack on two more matches to a wrestler we've already covered's career. My name is Evan.
I am Javier.
And this week we are looking back at a wrestler we covered all the way back in episode 8 of the podcast. For context, the week that this is coming out, we have just released episode 170. So it's been a long time since we've dove into the career of one Dave Batista.
This was like early pandemic, wasn't it?
It sure was. This was early era pandemic. We were looking at the career of Dave, a man who should have been a 3-part episode, but we hadn't thought of those yet. And by we, I mean you, because you're the one who thought of The Undertaker's 3-parter.
Yes, and have been the brain trust for all of these 3-parters as we've gone on.
Yes, every good wrestler, Javier's the one who decided what was going on. And every time it was Coco Beware, it was me all along. Let's talk about Batista. Let's talk Dave Batista, because normally on the podcast we cover a wrestler through 5 of the most important matches. We covered some really good ones for Batista. We tacked on 2 extra ones here. What are your thoughts on Batista's whole career? Where do you rank him? Where's he on the tier list?
Man, we don't talk enough about his heel run in 2009, 2010.
Oh yeah, it's awesome.
He is so good at this shit at that point. Like just the facial expressions of just being like he's just serious the whole time. He wants to fucking kill whoever's in front of him, and then he like turns it on, and it's so good.
Do you prefer babyface or heel Batista?
It's tough
because babyface Batista is surprisingly good at getting sympathy for a man his size.
Yeah, I would say that the peak of Batista for me is probably like 2005 to 2007.
Yeah,
that range of him, World Heavyweight Champion Batista. But man, that heel run it's up there, man. It's right there with it, in my opinion.
So yeah, I'd say like that initial face run is tops, and then that 2009 heel run is next, probably followed by original Evolution heel Batista.
Yeah,
and then
Deacon.
No, probably Blue Tista.
Yeah, just that whole comeback phase in 2014.
Yeah, where she shouldn't have been a face, even a little bit. All right, so we are looking at 2 matches, and a weird kind of combination is that it's 2 of his friends turned into fierce rivals. Like yes. 2 of his closest friends in wrestling turned into fierce rivals. The first one is 2009 Survivor Series. He faces off against Rey Mysterio. Rey had cost Batista the world title, and I'm going to put cost in very strong quotation marks here, because he broke up a pin in a fatal 4-way at bragging rights, and Batista responded by saying that Rey was supposed to be his friend, and he got really mad. We actually covered that match in the Batista episode. We covered that fatal 4-way with Undertaker and CM Punk and Rey Mysterio.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
we did.
And then, because Batista was upset about not winning the title, he murdered Rey Mysterio.
God, I still think about that clothesline. Lariat to this day.
He murdered. The fact that, like, Dominic did not have to grow up without a dad, right? Because, like...
he did. He grew up without a dad.
Without his dad, yes. R.I.P. Eddie.
Absentee father.
This is the first match we get between the 2, and it's not a match in this typical way that you would describe a match. This is a moment.
This is a murder.
This is a murder. Yeah, pick a different M word. This is a murder. So, what did you think watching this match back?
I had a really good time. It's just like you see, like, I don't know. There's just something different about Batista in this character that he's still honestly working out, because it's still in the initial phases of the heel turn.
And this is his first time he's been heel since 2005. It's been over 4 years.
Man, it's just like he's like, I don't know. I feel like he's more like upright. He's like, it's the way he's like got like the shave, like the Kobe haircut going over there too. Like, I don't know. Menacing eyes.
It's something that he brings into a lot of his best acting characters. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That like almost like impenetrable. Like there's nothing you can do that can touch me.
He's got like a 5 o'clock shadow going, so like you're like, oh, this guy might be a little unhinged.
What is your favorite? Let's discount Drax, because Drax is Drax and he's awesome. What's your favorite other movie that Dave Batista's been in?
Ooh, I really liked him in Glass Onion.
I loved him in Glass Onion,
but I don't know that that's my pick. I I might say I forget the name. I generally forget the name of his character. But Dune. I
Oh,
thought he was good in Dune, and I'm a big fan. I can't explain it. I love the Dune movie. I've seen that movie probably 5 or 6 times.
wow, that's a lot of Dune.
Yeah, it's great. I'm very excited for the second part.
I can tell. My God, the only other one I had was Spectre. I liked him as Mr. Hinks, and that's literally the parallel I draw to this like era of Batista. Is just like, oh, you are an unstoppable monster, essentially.
You haven't seen Knock at the Door, right?
No, but I really want to.
I I won't tell you anything about the movie, but he carries the show.
Okay, that's that's good to know. That's pretty good.
Carries the show.
Speaking of carrying, Ray tries, but Batista can just pick this man up and carry him wherever the hell he wants.
Yeah, Ray goes for a 619 early. Batista smart moves out of the way. Ray tries to do a move to the outside. Batista just grabs him, drives him into the apron.
Yep.
Drops him with a clothesline from his knees. Literally his knees.
So good. Ray manages. It's a lot of Ray trying to dodge. Right, dodges a Batista bomb. Chop blocks the big man. Batista is in 619 position, but literally catches Ray as he's doing the swing and goes for Batista bomb. Ray head scissors Batista out to the outside. It's a lot of Ray just being like, how do I, keep the big man off his toes? And Batista just consistently charging forward.
Yeah. Ray does get the ghost for a baseball slide. He kind of hesitates a little bit before doing so, as commentary points out. Eventually, he does get 619 off. He does it to the abdomen region twice. Then a third one to the face. He hits a springboard seated senton. He goes up, but he delays too much because he does the Eddie shrugs twice.
He
does it twice.
He does too much showboating, which Ray, head in the game, buddy.
Batista gets his knees up when Ray jumps, so Ray gets absolutely smoked. And to add insult to injury, Batista hits probably the best spear he's ever hit.
Absolutely. By far the best spear. Now, again, pretty easy to hit a really good spear to Rey Mysterio. Ray's going to sell everything like death.
It just looks weird every time Batista does it.
Yeah.
I don't think he ever really got it to look good.
We get a Batista bomb.
After he takes off his elbow pads.
We get a second Batista bomb. The fans, because we are in Washington, D.C., home city of Dave Batista, the fans are actively cheering for him to hit a third. And Batista wins by TKO.
Yeah, it's a third regular powerbomb. He does not go down on it.
Yeah.
Ref calls for the bell.
Ray gets checked on by medical staff, and Dr. Batista has a chair for Ray. That's how it's going to solve this problem. He sits on it beside Ray and then spine busters him onto the steel chair. He literally picks him up like when you would get picked, like your dad picking you up when you're a toddler.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It was effortless.
Yeah, and just whips him right down onto this chair. It was a brutality and a signal of what this era of Batista would look like.
Yeah,
the answer a fucking huge asshole.
Yeah, for those who don't know, I mean, they dropped a playlist of the heel Batista versus John Cena feud, like from 2009 to actually no, I think it's just the entirety of 2010, really, unless they count the SummerSlam stuff, which I guess would be 2009. And it's great. It's just a lot of good shit from this heel asshole Batista, who is an absolute monster, but can't beat John Cena because he's John Cena. So
I mean, 2010 John Cena was untouchable.
I mean, John Cena from like 2005 to
SummerSlam.
So literally Brock Lesnar to SummerSlam is just untouchable.
Our next match is another guy who is untouchable for a long stretch of his career. We're looking 10 years later. It's WrestleMania 35, and Batista has a match against old pal Triple H. Remember how he murdered Ric Flair to get this match?
Yeah. I thought. Listen, I will say the build to this match was pretty good.
The build. So it started in October of 2018. Do you remember that?
Yeah, that was the Evolution reunion on SmackDown.
SmackDown 1000, and Batista mentioned how Triple H had never beat him one-on-one, and Batista got the biggest reaction of the night. I also believe that was in Washington D.C.
Yeah, and he's been saying for years in interviews and stuff that if he were to have a retirement match, he would want it to be against Triple H. He would want Triple H to be the one to retire him.
And for spoilers, this match is a career versus career match, and we know that Triple H was around a little longer, so that kind of spoils the ending if you haven't seen it. But
Triple H only gets about another year.
correct. But yeah, and then we had the February 25th, 2019 SmackDown was Ric Flair's 70th birthday. A reminder that he had a match 3 years after that.
He was on dialysis at one point.
This is alarming. And Ric Flair got murdered by Batista. And Batista dragged a cameraman over to the room and was beating the shit out of Ric Flair. Triple H was like, "That's my pseudo dad. Don't do that."
What was it? It was like, "Hi, Hunter.
Yeah,
Remember me?" or something.
something weird. But like honestly, Batista's a good actor, so he.
Or do I have your attention now?
Yeah, one of those. I don't miss 7-hour WrestleManias. That's the only thing I got from this.
This one was tough. I specifically remember 35 being the most like difficult wrestling pay-per-view I've ever had to watch.
I remember that I think it was either this one or it was the one before. So 34 was sponsored by Rocket League.
Yes, sir.
And there were so many commercials for it during the 7 hours of wrestling I watched that I downloaded Rocket League. And I've been playing it ever since. But I remember
I was a big fan because we got free shit that for Rocket League.
During 35, I was watching it with a buddy, and we had 2 screens. And I was like, look, we got to start playing Rocket League or something, or else I'm not going to make it. Like, there's so many matches on this card. This was match number 13.
Yeah.
If you count the pre-show, which everyone does.
And there were 2 more.
No, there were 3 more after this match.
3. It's Corbin and Angle. What else?
Demon Finn Balor versus Bobby Lashley.
Oh,
and then
God.
The main. And of all the matches of the 16 matches that happened that night, this is the longest at 24 minutes and 45 seconds.
This went longer than the main event,
which was 21:30. It went longer than Kofi Mania, which was 23:45.
Jesus.
Quick, can you name me the shortest match on the card?
I don't know. Did Cena and Elias actually have a match?
No, but Samoa Joe beat Rey Mysterio in under a minute. Remember that?
I love that. Yeah, that was great.
Good
well,
time.
Rey was injured, wasn't he? That's why.
Yeah, that's why they had to do it like that. All right, so this match, like I said, it's no holds barred. Both men's careers are on the line, and it should be more exciting than it was.
Yeah, honestly, I kind of remember it being like a little more like brutal and like
don't get me wrong.
More action.
There's some weird spots that we'll talk about, but
there's a lot of pausing in this match. Like there's a lot of lull periods. It's weird.
So, Batista, one, has so many more tattoos than last time we saw him. Holy shit. He's just covered in tattoos. And early on, they wrestle to the outside. Triple H hits Batista with a toolbox. And he gets a chain and whips him and wraps it on his face, which was a really good visual. The chain wrapped around Batista's face was a very good visual.
A commentary mentions that Triple H is still recovering from his torn pectoral from the year before. And that god-awful tag match.
And that's why Cody is better than because he'll wrestle with torn pec. He doesn't care.
Jesus Christ. Well, no, he's back. He got the surgery and everything. He's fine. He's back. It's just the commentary had to mention that. He tore it, though, in that god-awful tag team match at Saudi with Shawn Michaels.
So bad. We don't acknowledge that one. So Triple H uses a wrench on Batista's fingers. That's brutal. That's a moment.
Yeah. Then he whips him into the stairs. He uses the wrench again, and like kind of grabs it.
Literally plying his
He wrenches his hand around onto the steps, and I was gonna say he does the Shayna Baszler stomp, but he doesn't step on his elbow. He steps on his hand.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal. Like, shout out to these guys for at least coming up with something new. Like, I haven't seen that before. You can just see him be like, how can I combine my tool shed with what Pete Dunne does? And he's like, all right.
And I will always give props to people for trying out shit. Like, I thought that's what made the Hell in a Cell match between Randy Orton and Jeff Hardy kind of cool. So that they were doing shit that was, it's gross as fuck with the ear piercings and the nose piercing and all that stuff. But, it's new.
Speaking of piercings, that's where we go next. Triple H with a chair shot, then he puts the chair, unfolded on Batista's chest, moves his arms, takes some pliers, and yanks out the man's nose ring. He gets a
It's
huge
gross.
response pulling it out, and then an even better response when they have the shot of him holding the ring.
Did you cringe when watching it?
Absolutely.
Like I just naturally was like, oh.
I didn't this time, but live I absolutely did.
Like I was the same thing with the Jeff Hardy stuff. I don't know what it is with things being ripped out of people, but because like I'm like a big like I don't know about you, but I'm very big on like I love watching like pimple popping videos and shit
Oh
like that.
yeah.
Like just like the grossest things you could think of with the human body. Like I'll be like, oh, you want to pop it? Word. Like, let me see what's going on there. But something about like a piercing getting removed or something like it's just like oh like
I
I don't
very
know,
much
man.
do
I
it
can't do
where
it.
I have it where if I see somebody get injured, that part of my body hurts, or like I feel like like when the nose thing happened, I instinctively would just do this. I was like, that's weird. I don't like that.
Yeah, like I just like you talking about it. I just
Yeah.
instinctively went like that.
And so, but yeah, with pimple popper, I don't have a giant cyst on my shoulder, but like remove it from Kathy. Like, let's see what's going on. I think my favorite of those videos. I know we're so off topic here, but that's what we do. Is they'll have this guy who's like 90 years old, and he's like,
Yeah.
I've never done skincare before in my life. I I worked construction for 71 years, and then they show them, and they have blackheads that are like they could be oil at this point. Like it's insane, and they just touch his nose and just like
My favorite is the one of people who've had like a massive cyst for like 20 years. It's like you tell me like after year 1 you weren't like, oh, this thing's kind of like weird looking.
no, you just named it Cecilia and moved on. Like, what are you out of
Yeah.
your mind?
Like what? And also like you're 20 years deep. Why now have you
Yeah, why
decided
now?
Cecilia it has to go?
Why kick Cecilia out? Okay, so yeah, he rips a nose ring out of his face. That's a lot.
That's where we were.
Uh, then the next big spot is all about the announce tables, and I have to say,
Good Lord.
strongest announce tables in WWE history.
Not even Japan. The little Japanese tables are as strong as these fuckers.
Batista drops Triple H on the announce table 3 times in a row on 2 separate tables, and no breaks, none, not even a
None.
buckle.
Zero. Not even like the table didn't even move.
Batista goes a chair shot, goes shoulder first in the ring post, and then reverses a pedigree into a backdrop. So that's exciting. Then we go back to the announce table. He's clearing it off, brings Triple H onto the one with steel steps on top, and he's going to hit a Batista bomb from one table to the other. Because this WrestleMania, there's 3 tables. There's the
Yes.
Spanish, there's the English, and there's the German. And he wants to go through the English table. He doesn't because Triple H back body drops him instead, and the table still doesn't break. On a full Batista,
Yep.
raining down on it.
Yep.
How heavy do you think Batista is at this time?
At this time, God, I would say he's probably slimmed down a tiny bit just because he's not having to train for wrestling and he's in between Guardian movies at this point. I would say somewhere around like 240, 250.
Yeah, 250 probably.
Yeah.
And no
he's
break.
tall because you
No
also have
break.
to count for the fact that he's tall.
He's a tall guy.
No break whatsoever, and he like it's not like he's bracing and I'm just like, oh, so he doesn't like he probably dead weighted it a little bit because he's like, oh, that one didn't break shit. I probably have to like put something into it.
Honestly,
No.
I hope there's the one of like the ring setup guys backstage being like, I fucking did it. Look at those
Write
tables.
that down. Write that down.
Look at those tables, Bill. Those tables are so good. God damn it.
Vince, you said it couldn't be done.
I mean, a table break does happen. What's the spot that finally breaks the table?
It's a spear. Triple H spears Batista through the through the German one. So as we know,
Yeah, he runs off of the Spanish onto the English, dives and manages to spear Batista through the German.
Yeah, so as we've come to find, German ingenuity is not as good as American or Spanish, clearly.
USA.
Si se puede. Si se puede. Animo.
Trips then goes looking for a weapon. What a surprise at the weapon he finds. Of course, it's a sledgehammer. He walks into the ring with it and immediately gets speared by Batista. And this spear also looks good. This is 2 matches with 2 decent Batista spears.
Yeah.
Which, again, hard to find.
Yeah, it is. Oh, my God. I just fucked up my wrist on my table. Jesus.
It's dangerous here, too.
Batista grabs the hammer, goes to use it on Triple H, eats a boot, and drops it. Triple H then picks up the hammer again, tries a shot, eats a boot, holds on, fires up. He goes, ah! And then when he turns around and goes for a shot, Batista hits a spine buster on him.
Oh my God. Yeah.
It picks him up, Batista bomb, near fall.
Perfect impression of Triple H there, by the way. That was...
Ah!
And right around now is where I realized that, like, there's not a lot of ring rust on Batista. Yes, the match is slow, and I think that kind of helps him a little bit, but everything he's hitting is clean.
I mean, he just also didn't have the most expansive of movesets.
That's true, and it makes it a little bit easier to slip back into it when it's not.
Yeah, he's a very like methodical worker through and through. Like he's obviously a big power guy, but like he knew how to wear people down with his power, and those are like the easiest things to do in wrestling.
I think that's one of the things that's most difficult for people who have that more like exciting, and I put that in quotations, move set, where like we notice when the Hardys are aging.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean.
I mean, well, not Jeff as much because Jeff's just fucking doing crazy shit. But like Matt's not doing a top rope leg drop anymore.
Yeah, so it's a little easier to notice when certain people are aging. But other wrestlers, like you're right, if they're like super methodical, like Batista is, they can just keep doing the things.
Yeah, like Seth Rollins in about 20 years, it's gonna be way different.
It's gonna be very different, very very different.
Unless he's like fucking Tom Cruise and just keeps himself in phenomenal shape with his CrossFits, but. Which is possible,
I
but
believe it. I believe it. Triple H reverses some corner punches that are happening in the corner into a powerbomb onto the steel steps that have been brought into the ring. Batista straight up bounces off the steps.
Yeah. And then he follows it up immediately with a pedigree.
And Batista still kicks out.
Yeah. No wasted movements, by the way. This is not like, there was a super long delay into the pin or whatever. Nah. Just straight up goes for it. Near fall.
Triple H is then going to hit Batista with a sledgehammer. Batista blocks it and DDT strips onto the steel steps in a spot that looked like it hurt a lot. Yeah. And who shows up but the dead man himself? No, not the Undertaker. Ric Flair.
Yes, the dead man walking. Yes. He's the 90-year-old man who's never done skincare.
Oh my God. Yeah.
No, I feel like he does. He has daughters. They gotta
help him out. Yeah,
forced him into something.
That's true.
And he hands Triple H a sledgehammer. Goes to the other side of the ring where Batista is, starts chatting shit to him, and Batista responds. I'm not sure if you heard anything Batista said, but he absolutely said this: "Watch this, you little bitch."
I mean, most people are a little bitch compared to Batista.
No, not Triple H though, because from the other side, here comes Hunter using the steps. It goes up like he's fucking hitting a Superman punch, like he's goddamn Roman Reigns. But instead of his fist, he's using the goddamn sledgehammer. Then immediately goes, grabs Batista, sets him up, hits a pedigree. 1, 2, 3. Triple H is allowed to wrestle again.
And Batista is not. Batista would be announced for the WWE Hall of Fame class of 2020. But then, of course, COVID changed everything and the ability to actually do the ceremony. So instead, they said that it would induct him the next year. He wasn't able to make it the next year due to filming commitments. So they kind of have it on pause. Some point in the future, Batista will be inducted into the Hall of Fame. It's just a matter of when. My guess would be probably next year. Hopefully that lines up.
Maybe. I also think it could depend on where they decide to go the year after with WrestleMania.
Yeah.
I don't know if they end up anywhere near Washington D.C. or something. It would have made sense. It would have made a lot of sense this year. They were in Hollywood. Yeah. But things worked out the way they did. He's clearly a Hall of Fame talent. First ballot Hall of Fame talent. Yeah. He's one of the most iconic wrestlers of the 21st century. One of the best wrestlers of the 21st century. And a really fucking good actor who is famous. For that alone, they will put him into the Hall of Fame.
The best actor from wrestling we've ever seen.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I'm not wrong. Thank you for joining us as we talked about Batista's career. We added 2 more matches to his list. This week on the podcast, we're wrapping up our 3-part series on his Evolution stablemate, and the only member of Evolution we didn't talk about during this episode, Randy Orton. So go and listen to parts 1 and part 2, watch them here on YouTube, or check us out this coming Saturday for Randy Orton Part 3, whether on podcast, whatever platform this is the podcast, or here on YouTube. Also, hit like, hit subscribe, share this with a friend, share this with a Batista fan. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at CrossBodyOfWork. Follow Javier and so you can see him doing more Batista things. Where can they find you, Javier?
I'm on the Twitter machine at JMLO Sports. Sauce the boy a follow, people.
Follow me on Twitter at @7Gomes, ITSEVANGOMES. Thank you so much as we dove back into the career of Batista. We're back with more Wrestle Revisited in the future. We'll talk to you then.
Bye.